from the Lord Jesus Christ. I was glad when they said to me, "Let us go into the house of the Lord." I'm Father Steve Sellers, and thank you so much for tuning in today for this brief daily message of hope. I've been thinking today about the Missionary Sisters of Charity, Mother Teresa's, Saint Mother Teresa's order. The wonderful sisters who spend their life ministering to the people on the farthest outskirts of society, to the sick and to the dying. That's what Mother Teresa's passion was, and so it is with her sisters. For several years here in Houston, I have been saying the Mass for the sisters on occasion, their early morning Mass, when I can get away to help them with that. And in their little convent down in the 3rd Ward in Houston, there is a sign over the place where priests put their vestments on that says this: "Priest of God, celebrate this Mass today as though it were your first Mass, your last Mass, your only Mass." That has always struck me, because we have a hard time as not only as priests, but as human beings living right now. If this were the last day that you would have on the face of the earth, how would you live it? What would you do today if you knew by some grace from God that this was your last day? How would you live it? I ask that to my students all the time. If this was your last day on earth, what would you do today? And then I let them think about that for a while and said, why don't you do it anyway? If these are the things that are the most important things that you must get done, like healing a broken relationship or saying I'm sorry or asking for someone's forgiveness, why don't you do it right now? Don't wait until it's too late. Live this day as though it were your last. You know, we've been reading at Mass this week. St. Paul has been saying goodbye in the book of the Acts of the Apostles to his congregation in Ephesus, one of the places that was dear to St. Paul's heart. He probably spent more time on his missionary journeys in Ephesus than in any other city. And as he was leaving them in our Mass today, he's telling them that he is going to Jerusalem, where he is awaiting great hardship and probably death. And as he's saying goodbye to them, he says, "You will not see my face again." And then he says this, as they're finishing up their time together. Paul goes back over the faith that he's passed on to them. And he says in Acts 20, verse 35, "In everything I did, I showed you that by this kind of hard work, we must help the weak, remembering the words the Lord Jesus himself said, 'It is more blessed to give than to receive.'" And then the last verse in chapter 20 of Acts says this: "When he had said this, he knelt down with all of them and prayed. They all wept as they embraced him and kissed him. What grieved them most was the statement that they would never see his face again. Then they accompanied him to the ship." And of course, history shows that Paul never saw them again. He went to Jerusalem, wound up being under arrest, and was taken from Caesarea to Rome, where his final fate awaited him. If this were the last day you were going to spend, how would you live it? What would you say to those nearest to you? If this were your last day, how would you deal with your friends? How would you deal with family? What would you do today that would be so important to do on your last day that you would have to do it? And why not do it today? Live each day in the fullness of the Lord. Let him direct you. God willing, this will not be your last day. God willing, you have many, many days ahead, and live them all in the fullness of the presence and the compassion and the joy of the Lord. And be kind to others, because Jesus himself tells us it's more blessed to give than to receive. Give people a smile today. Give them hope. Give them joy. You never know what tomorrow is going to bring. God does, but live today in his presence and be kind one to another. God bless you. Life is too short to be wasting time. Do what it is that will lift others up. And God willing, I will see you right here again tomorrow. Have a blessed day today.